So what if I told you there was a very famous police department in Texas who was once featured on TV, specifically the Country Music Television Channel or CMT, and they were shown as an example of a good police department? The only problem with that is that years later we find out that they are not a good police department and are filled with criminals. And you know this because the police chief has been exposed as a criminal who not only allegedly plays grab hands with his own co-workers and underlings, but he also set up an illegal quota system where this man was extracting extra tax dollars and extra fines and fees out of the taxpayers who were already paying his salary. And this story proves that quota systems in fact exist.
My name is Stephen Jones, and I'm chief of the Trinity Police Department. We have our share of crime, and we take the job very seriously.
12 years later.
Police Chief Daniel Key was suspended after allegations of sexually harassing officers.
Yikes.
Stop it.
And setting up an illegal quota system came to light.
Thief! Stop! Thief! Come back, thief!
Maybe we could call the police.
These are the police.
These allegations were brought to attention of the Texas Rangers and other law enforcement agencies by Trinity officer Brittany Davis.
You might be asking, how do I know all this to be true? Why do I believe any of this? Well, it's a Brady List website that features officers from all over the country, but especially Texas. So here is a public complaint. And the news media outlets out there, I want you to understand, I want you to see this. They didn't mention in detail what this guy had done. They didn't mention the details. It is mentioned that this guy, he may have set up an illegal quota system and there was some harassment of some female employees.
Yeah, I can see how some of these things could be problematic.
It's problematic at best.
They didn't really go into detail. Well, this website actually goes into that detail. And this is about Officer Daniel Key. Here's the supporting statement, and I want to read the statement off. Now, this statement has a whole bunch of spelling errors. And I'm going to fix some of that up for you. So I want to read to you what we've been seeing here. So let's get to the statement. Here's statement 1, quote, Chief Daniel Key, along with all police department personnel, were summoned to a meeting later in the afternoon with the mayor, Billy Godden, about the tension caused within the police department due to Daniel Key's gossip, drama, bias to Officer Connell, Code Enforcement Linda Nolan, Dispatcher Amy Fruia, and Dispatcher Supervisor Sabrina Valdez, end quote. Now at this part of the video, we have to validate at least one of these claims. And when I look at the Trinity Police Department's website, I do see an Officer Connell badge number 306. So Officer Connell does in fact exist. And now the next statement. During the morning preparations to the meeting, Daniel Key summoned Dispatcher Valdez and Officer Connell into his office where Chief Key attempted to find out what would be discussed in the meeting and find out which officers brought any issues to the mayor. Chief Key, not receiving any insight on the pending meeting, intentionally, knowingly, recklessly lost his temper, and an infuriated Chief Daniel Key explicitly in a clear, profound tone exclaimed, "I don't give a F about this meeting and what anyone has to say, including the mayor. I am the chief. This is my department, and if I say to do something and ask you to find out what anyone says, I expect your rear ends to do what the F I say without questions."
Yikes.
Low lawsuit.
Connell, I don't give a F about the complaining you or anyone else has in this department, end quote. Oh boy, that is quite a toxic workplace.
It's in their nature, they can't help it.
And check out this next quote. Quote, Chief Daniel Key has a pure sexist bias to any and all women, whether they are officers or not, end quote. Yikes, that is big oof, big oof, big oof. Quote, Daniel Key implemented a de facto quota shift bid system based on arrests, citations, warnings to encourage officers to compete with one another, which is a violation of constitutional violations of section 720.002 of the Texas Transportation Code. Chief Daniel Key made sure to always change his shifts so that he may always ride with Officer Connell, who is the only female officer employed full-time with the City of Trinity Police Department, end quote.
I am going to create an environment that is so toxic.
Low lawsuit.
And so basically that quote is telling you that this man went out of his way to always be around Officer Kano for some reason, because he was really, really into her, but she was not into him. And we can tell this because of the next quote, quote, Chief Daniel Key has made it his personal mission to stay with Officer Kano no matter where she is on shift. Yikes.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this.
Stop it.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Officer Kano is a married woman at this time to a non-disclosed gentleman. Daniel Key has a wife of over 20 plus years. Daniel Key has made flirtatious comments to Officer Kano repeatedly around co-workers and in private, which Officer Kano has made aware to a select group of trusted, honorable personnel, end quote. So basically, this woman is being harassed by this man, and she has to confide in her then husband and co-workers because the cops can't protect themselves from the cops. Or in this case, the police chief, allegedly.
Maybe we could call the police.
These are the police.
That's terrible.
And check this out here, quote, Officer Kano has confided in these trusted people to aid her in privacy to determine the best solution for distributing these unwanted comments and advances by Chief Daniel Key. Officer Kano was assaulted by Chief Key while on shift, and to kind of paraphrase here, when he did the assault, allegedly, he said, quote, wow, they are actually bigger than I thought, end quote. And then the rest of the statement here says, and he requested to walk around without a vest on, basically saying he wanted her to take off her stuff and walk around without the vest on, and then suggested to brush against the chief with her body so that Chief Daniel Key may be gratified with his desires of physical contact, end quote. That is a major yikes. And here's the last quote, quote, Officer Kano has confided to her husband about these claims and Officer Juan Ramirez along with evidence technician Callie Miracle. Officer Kano stated she was scared to lose her job and opted not to complete nor attempt any of the desires by Chief Daniel Key in fear of losing her job. Officer Kano has been repeatedly asked several times if she can come to Chief Daniel Key's trailer home in Groovetown, Texas after work hours, in which Officer Kano has declined, end quote. So basically that was throwing some shade there because boy, they just had to mention that this man lived in the trailer park. Boy, that's some major shade right there, man. And just like with Officer Kano being listed on the Trinity Police Department's website, we also find an Officer Ramirez who must be Juan Ramirez. And then when you go over to the administration tab, you actually do see a Callie Miracle. And so far the names are lining up. And when you give me names and you start giving me specific dates and incidents and other meetings with the mayor to line up with the other claims, well, that does lend a lot of credibility.
Pretty damn bad, huh? What's that? What's that, brother?
It's in their nature. They can't help it. These are the police.
Business as usual.